Okay,
Okay.
good. All right, so here we are. So I'm with Lisa Wehler here. This is our Age of Gaia podcast. And just to introduce this theme, we've all been familiar with the term Gaia. And in fact, the person who originated this in the scientific community, James Lovelock, he's written several books, in fact, about how the Earth is a system, just like we are systems. So it's not just, one dimension or physical body, but multidimensional being. And he just died a couple of days ago. So I want to honor him and offer my gratitude for how powerfully he's brought this whole idea of the Earth as an entity, as a living, conscious being into the scientific community. And of course, this is something that indigenous people have known all along. And we're returning back to that awareness now. So, so Lisa and I decided to do this program together with her channeling Gaia. In other words, blending consciousness with the entity that we refer to as Mother Earth, and then just allowing her to speak, allowing her to respond to whatever questions we may have. And basically, it's about understanding something that's much bigger than we've allowed ourselves to understand, because this is a living relationship that we're developing. So welcome, Lisa, and I see you're already beginning to connect with this planetary consciousness. So I'll let you start us off, and let's see where you want to go. And then, when there's an opportunity, I might ask some questions or point the conversation in certain ways. But please go ahead and start off any way you wish.
Questions are the highest form of learning. So please ask a question.
All right. All right. So, many indigenous people refer to the earth as a living being. We, in the Western mindset, have created the schism where we see ourselves as above the earth, dominating the earth, using or the earth as a resource, in many ways draining the earth. But what I understand is that the earth is much more than this, that she is a being. So would you like to speak to that? Speak to us humans. We are so limited in our understanding of who you are. So tell us about yourself, who you are as a multidimensional being, and what your purpose is with us.
I see myself as a vehicle for your consciousness, for the evolution of your consciousness. That is my purpose. That is my job. I have multifaceted dimensions within me. Many of them help with evolutionary cycles. There is a 26,000 year cycle that we are fast approaching the end of. You will become multidimensional with me. You are becoming multidimensional. You will have access to everything I have access. That was the original intention. We have suffered kind of a fall here. A fall in consciousness. and it is to be restored. We can't go back to where we are because there is no going back. We will go forward with what we have, and what we have is much.
So what is your evolutionary purpose as a planetary system within the universe?
I am part of universal consciousness. I am all planets in unity on one level. I am all planets. I am directed by the divine planetary mother, who is in unity with all planets. My sole purpose is to give experience to souls that are evolving. And eventually you will leave from here and go to non-physical and become anything that you desire to become. A lot of people think you go back to the one creator. That's not what the one creator wants you to go out and create. What you create is your desire. I help to get you to that point.
So we as a human species have a role to play in this grand evolutionary design. And you're here to support us, but we're also part of Gaia. We're not separate.
I don't see you as separate any more than you see your arm as separate from your body. You are part of my body. And I have infinite patience and infinite love for you and what you create. You create the world you want to live in. You create this. I don't create this. I give you the vehicle in which to create it in. I give the vehicle for all my evolving life. But I do not create this dimension. You do.
So all species of life on this earth working together are the creative force that brings this about.
It is my job to put life on an evolutionary path that will develop it to its highest potential, whatever it may be, whatever that potential may be. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. I am the host, and you are the evolving life. You get to decide, and I guide. Everything is deciding. Everything outside your window, every bit of life is deciding what it wants to be.
So it's an open-ended journey.
Yes.
So one way of the way I see this is that everything in the universe is holographic in its essence. In other words, it's not about size or complexity. Everything is part of everything else. And the earth as a multidimensional consciousness is reflected in each one of us as human multidimensional consciousness. What touches me very deeply is when you spoke about you're here simply to offer unconditional love. And that touches me because after thousands of years of, in my seeing, abusing the earth or mismanaging the resources of this earth, destroying many species and ecosystems, there's still this sense of, well, I'm here for you. Um,
You can't destroy me. You can make a mess if that's what you want to live in.
mm,
You can't destroy me. I will just recreate myself. If you destroy yourselves, that's your choice. I don't make that choice for you.
right. So, is there an evolutionary purpose that you have and at your level of evolution that's independent of a human evolutionary program?
I just get better and better at this.
Mm,
I just get better at making consciousness evolve. It is my mission statement to evolve the life within me, and I just get better and better at it.
mm,
I don't know what would be beyond this for me, just like you don't know what's beyond for you. I don't really know. It's just my focus to do this
mm,
now. If I am called to serve in another way, then I will.
mm.
I am of service. As you, I don't know your personal story, but many souls on this planet are evolving souls that will be maybe universes someday. I don't know. That's your choice.
So,
I,
go ahead.
please, no, go ahead.
So, I was just going to say that as an evolving soul in a human form, I have a certain destiny, and it may take several incarnations to complete at least one part of that mission. Um, Likewise, I would assume that you, as an evolving soul, also have an evolutionary destiny, multiple incarnations, that you have a host of support from various sources. So I'm curious. Tell me more about how this works.
I have cycles.
Mm,
I like it's the macrocosm and the microcosm. I have cycles of life and death. I have cycles of rebirth. I have cycles. You could call them past lives if you want to.
mhm.
I have cycles. And it's such a vast cycle compared to a human life. It seems seemingly a lot of time, but I have my mission per cycle. I am given a mission per cycle.
So you referred to this 26,000 or 24,000 year cycle. Is that what you're referring to? Like this would be one incarnation followed by another?
I have multiple incarnations on multiple levels. There is evolving life inside of me. I showed Lisa a multidimensional diamond, and there are other dimensions that are in other phases of development. So I am like a very tall bookshelf. I have lots of shelves. I have lots of books on those shelves. And one book is the human book. And this density and this layer. So I have multiple cycles in multiple places.
So when I refer to timelines, this would be multiple possibilities or probabilities coexisting together. Would that be similar to what you're describing as multiple cycles?
I have missions for all of these books on the shelf.
Yeah.
What's written on the pages is what you want to write on those pages. What the, I don't want to say dominant. Right now, I would say humanity has come to a point of a leap in consciousness. I don't want to say that you're dominant, because you are not. It's just that you are here making a leap of consciousness on this level, on this shelf, in this book, on those pages.
Right. Well, humanity, unfortunately, in our arrogance, pretend to be the dominant species. We have chosen a way of life that mismanages resources, that obliterates other forms of life for our own convenience. We don't respect the sovereignty of other species and of the earth herself as a living being that you are. So to me, would this be something that, well, okay, I'll phrase it differently. Does this still fulfill the evolutionary purpose that you envisage? I would see it almost like a little child throwing a tantrum, and the mother might have a certain desire, but the child persists in demanding its own way.
Well, I'm going to let you cry it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you have that tantrum as a good mother would. Let them cry, and when you feel like they're done, then you can take care of that. But
So
right now,
what if you're a danger to ourselves or to other species? What if this child was stepping into the fire and ready to be burnt, and you as the mother were watching all this? What would you need to do?
well, you are like two separate species right now on the planet. And Lisa didn't want me to go into this too much, but the reptilian energy on this planet is embodied with the human right now. You have been a very tampered with species.
Okay.
Which wasn't my original agreement, but it ended up being that way. And you are like two toddlers having a fight. And a good mother will separate you. And that is what needs to happen. But first, you need to see this. You need to see your limitations, where you can go and where you can't go. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do anything you want. I'm just saying that this time was a time for you to see those limitations, to see separation, to know separation, so that when you are in another book on my shelf, you will remember that separation. You will understand that limitation. So I will let you do what you want. I don't know if you want to. I have been destroyed by my inhabitants before, but yet here I am. Just like you could go, please don't do this, but if you could go get hit by a car, you're not dead. You live again in another way. There is no end. It's world without end. There is no end.
Well, there have been many extinction level events in past cycles of Earth's history. So every once in a while, either through external forces like cometary impacts or solar bursts, or through our own hubris, the Earth has become extinct, or species on Earth have become extinct from time to start over again. So I'm guessing that our species, the human species, in its present form, hasn't been around very long. There's been other forms of humans prior to this, and perhaps there'll be other forms of humans after us. So this current incarnation of humans, how do you see us?
You are a mixed, very mixed race. You are very mixed with so many other, as you would call them, extraterrestrial races.
Right.
They saw opportunities here because you are supreme creators. Many of them wanted to piggyback onto who you are and insert their consciousness into yours. And I'm sorry, they can't do that. This is your chance. This is who you are. We suffered a huge fall of consciousness because of this interference. And this is being righted. This is not how it should be.
Right.
This is a correction and a restoration. And I make no apology for that, because I know somewhere above me, a decision was made. I don't know why that decision was made. I didn't agree with it. But I think it had something to do with I have not been successful in creating a species that transcended this earth.
Yeah.
You are the first. You are the first that is. I know this. I know you are the first that is going to do this. And although I have massive regret for this, and I know that I have been given a huge task in creating a being that not only creates from their heart, but creates from their mind, that is very complex and very difficult to do. And no other planet has been given this. All other extraterrestrials are guided by their hearts only. Their mind is useful and it gives them reason and logic, but it doesn't create. Your mind creates. And that is the difference.
Yeah. Well, I hear your sadness, and I also hear a sense of hope for the potential that we carry, this particular human species. And I know many, many indigenous cultures and seers and mystics have spoken about the transition to come, that we're evolving into a new human species. The Incas referred to Homo luminous, the luminous human. Some refer to the divine human. So there's a potential to actually join mind, heart, soul, spirit, body in a way that we can function as a harmonious whole, rather than being split into so many pieces working against each other.
I will give you all my power of creation. But first, you must form unity to have access to this. You must unify with one thought. And you are right. You said this morning that if we all unified with one thought, it would change the world, and it would.
Right. It seems
Right
to me
now,
that we
you are
need
so
to.
separate. Right now, you are separating into almost two species. I'm not saying that it's just two timelines. There is the timeline of choice. And if you ever took off the outside of an electric wire and you see all those copper wires coming out, that's what this timeline looks like to me, this main timeline. It's the timeline of choice. There is a much higher timeline that eventually all of those timelines will go into. This higher timeline is everybody goes there eventually. Everybody goes there eventually. This is a restoration of this planet and a restoration of one of my that you will occupy. There is a much lower timeline, and some of you have chosen this. Some people call it the AI timeline. I call it the complete separation timeline.
Right.
Some of you actually want this. You want this complete separation, and I don't have a choice. I must provide this to you. If that's
Well, there's
what
a
you
lot of
want.
talk about the transhuman or AI, artificial intelligence, which seems to be very different from the divine human potential. You know, the transhuman is basically forcing our own way through the use of technology and the mind, whereas the divine human is about unifying mind with heart, unifying heart with soul, bringing that consciousness into the cells of the body and thereby transmuting the body. It's not about adding organs or circuitries to create an artificial enhancement. It's totally different. And so I see it when you mentioned that there's two species here on this earth, two human species. Yeah, maybe these are the two potentials that you're seeing. One is the artificial intelligence that's deprived of soul and heart, and the other is a unified human that's connected holographically and fractally with all of the universe.
There is a middle choice. There is a third choice. There's always a choice in this middle road timeline. There's always a choice as to, how much do you have to see? How artificial do you really need to be or go to see that, gee, this is a dead end? Because that's all it is. The AI is a complete dead end.
Yeah.
That will never evolve into anything. Evolution starts with source, and that is as far from source as perhaps you can get. You will not evolve. The species that I produced early on have taken that road, and they have seen that they cannot evolve. They destroyed me. They destroyed their planet, and that is with their choice. I give them their choice. They are here now. They want to piggyback onto this ascension, and it is not allowed. That will not be allowed.
So what are these species? How would we call them by name?
You would call them the grays, although they are not gray. You would call them the grays. They took a very technological ascension path, you could say. They decided that they would reject the heart and reject the planet and go off on a technological. They are some of the oldest species in this universe, and I am not speaking for all grays. I am speaking for a certain group, because others have gone to other planets. They have ascended. They have taken a more natural path. But this particular group did not. They
So it
saw what the
seems like
divine
this.
human was going to be. They saw what the divine human was going to be, and they craved that power. But they didn't realize that they need the heart to go there. They
Yeah.
need that compassion, which they have none. And I don't know why this was allowed. I'm not revealed that understanding. I don't know why that this, I did not agree to this,
Mm.
but they broke into this world and they hacked the planet. They hacked the guide, the realm that guides you.
Blueprint. Yeah.
Yes, they messed with the blueprint. It was scrambled, and your consciousness fell. Your consciousness fell so that you thought you were separate. So they needed to do that so they could insert their collective consciousness within you. Now, at some point, I really thought that you would somehow come together, that you would welcome this. Like when you take an animal into your home and the dog raises its consciousness just by being with you, and the dog becomes more conscious and more like a human. I thought that maybe this would be the case, but we have discovered it is not.
It's been the
And
other
they
way
will
around.
not come on this journey with you, no matter how hard they pry. And I have shown Lisa this. I have shown her what they are like. I allowed them to hack her consciousness and see what they were like. So she knew. So she knew what that felt like. She knew what that wrong message was. She knew how manipulating they were. She knew how they just streamlined it into her story and took over, because that's what happened here. I wanted her to know this.
Yeah. So I'll share my understanding of what I know about this. In a sense, there was a blueprint that you mentioned. This blueprint, this program was hacked, and it led to a lot of distortion, a lot of destruction, a lot of chaos, a lot of fear, a lot of greed, aggression, everything that we see in the fallen human nature, which
Yeah,
has risen to ascendancy. At the same
yeah,
time, you talked about these cycles. So there's the end of one cycle, there's the beginning of a new cycle. This next cycle is different vibrationally, so that it will not tolerate the fallen human consciousness that has been tolerated in the past. So the choice is up to us now to either self-destruct as a species or to rise above and beyond our current dualistic system.
correct. But you've sort of passed that mark. I wouldn't have even woken Lisa up if it was going that way. It's too much. It was too much for her physical vehicle to hold this consciousness. It was very difficult for her to work herself up to receiving my message.
Right.
So I would not have done that. So
I feel
you
like
have
there's so
passed that.
many of us now that are waking up, that are remembering, that are
Yeah.
rising up to the highest potential of what's inherent within our DNA.
You are supposed to remember your past lives. You are supposed to remember these things. What is good as a lesson if it's just wiped clean the next time you come here?
Right.
You will remember, you will remember this life. You will remember this separation. That will be put into our collective consciousness.
Remembering in the sense that we are able to transcend the negativity of that particular cycle. So it's like, a child going into first grade and comes back the next year, goes back to first grade because it hasn't passed the test. Next year, back to first grade, and just continues in that same old cycle, rather
That's
than moving
okay.
on,
That's
graduating.
okay. If that's what you want, it's here for you. If you just want to repeat that cycle over and over again, you can do that just so many times until I'm destroyed, until,
Right.
you have to make that bond with the planet, because the planet's
Yeah.
being handed over to you, because you will guide
Yeah.
your own evolution. You will guide your own selves. If you do not want to guide your own selves, if you do not want to do that, then I will create something new.
Well, you're much more patient and tolerant than I would be, and maybe that's my learning. But I sense that we are waking up collectively. I sense that
Yes.
we are choosing to learn from our mistakes of the past, at least some of us. But there's two streams. There's a possibility that I see that one stream will self-destruct, another stream will rise to another dimensional perspective.
My
And that this might
consciousness
happen
leaves
simultaneously.
this my consciousness leaves this place. And as it leaves its place, it will become more difficult. And you will either take the AI path or you will take the higher path. It will come down to the fact that you have to make that decision. You have to make that choice. There are so many interpretations of how we go on this path because there are so many paths. It's like that frayed electrical cord. You get to decide which path you want to take. You can take one where there is automatic ascension into this new place. It can go very smoothly, or you could see, nuclear war even. There's like a huge range of dimensions that you could go on, but you get to pick. Not so much on an individual level, but on what you create as a collective. When I said unity is key, I mean it. You have to be in union to go to the next place. Excuse me.
As a unified human soul.
Yes. Now, everything that's happening now, you may not like this, but it's pushing you toward union. It's pushing you toward that. And if you don't take the clue and come together, that's your choice too.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
provide the
it's
opportunity.
absolutely true. I'm curious about what you said a few minutes ago about I am leaving. My consciousness is leaving this particular planetary realm.
My consciousness will slowly recede from here. I cannot exist here. My cycle is over for this realm. And like an amoeba, I will contract back in, and I will not put my arm out into this realm anymore. It will be closed.
So in other words,
The chapter
Mhm.
of that book is done. That chapter of that page, and you must turn it.
Okay, so what comes after? So if you're describing yourself as the soul of the earth, of this particular planetary incarnation, what
Mhm.
happens after you leave?
You are thinking on one level that this is my only realm of existence when I have almost infinite realms of existence. This particular realm eventually will cease to exist. I showed Lisa the worst ending of this realm, and it is just a barren place.
Hmm.
And do you really want to live there? No, you don't. Do you want to be in unity? Yes, you do. And the tools for unity are here. We have given tools for unity. It is an energy, and you are starting to form it. You are starting to form that unity. You're starting to see the control on this planet and how it just doesn't work. These are not systems for humanity. Your human vessel was never meant to hold this much trauma and pain. And it's like the hot stove. Are you going to go touch it, or are you going to walk away from it?
Yeah. No, truly, we've become like a cancer on this earth.
You are loved. You are not cancer. Many of you think so negatively. And if I showed Lisa once, I opened Lisa's heart and I showed her what I see. And I see divine beings. I don't see cancer. I don't see that. I see lesson. I see catalyst. I don't see cancer.
That's not unconditional love. I don't know what is.
I know Lisa doesn't see it that way either.
Hmm. Well, it is true that it's a program. It's not necessarily the only form of reality. It's a program. It's a conditioning that's been ingrained into the human species, possibly even into our DNA. But beyond
Very
that, I
manipulative.
know that there's
You
another
are very
program.
manipulated. You are manipulated
Yeah.
by the days of the week. You are manipulated by the basic, that constant doing and the work system. And you're not hugely meant to live that way.
Yeah.
You are not, you are under a very difficult control system that you need to topple.
Right.
I'm not saying you should go out and riot and protest. I'm saying that if they hand you a gun, what are you going to do with it? What do you want to do with it? If you decide I'm not going to kill my brother with this gun, that you can put it down if you want. And if you all do it at the same time, and you say no, there's nothing to control now, is there?
Exactly, exactly. And I do see that, and I think in time we are moving in that direction. There's enough amongst
You are
a
thinking
human collective.
independently. You are starting to think independently. You are not controlled by the school system and its phony history. Your history is so phony. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. You don't know. It's been so kept from you. Trust your inner knowing.
Hmm.
You are going to be developing an amazing discernment, and you all are doing it now. You are looking at these things and saying, does that work for my brother? It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for you. We need something new. We need something else.
Well, speaking for humanity, I will say that much as we have lost our sovereignty and our right to be on this planet in some levels, there's also a tremendous wave of people that are rising up into our spiritual potential, who are waking up to say, no, enough,
You
enough
are
of all
given
the
tools.
fear and pain.
You are given tools. You are given tools for that.
Yeah. And we're choosing that. There's enough people, I believe, that have chosen those tools or working with those tools to write a new chapter for Earth's
Yeah.
history.
Yes, on a higher shelf.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious what that chapter is going to look like. Maybe it's not necessary to know yet. Maybe we create it as we go along.
I
But
don't know what that chapter is going to completely, I don't know what it's going to look like because it's
yeah,
your book.
right. The other thing that comes to mind, you mentioned the reptilian and the gray species that have been more about um, contracting uh, the potential of the human species. I know there's other species, other extraterrestrial races that have also been around to support us in our journey. People talk about the Sirians, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and so on. Are there certain contractual soul agreements
Some,
between them and humans?
some have been here to try to help. Some have been here to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fall and your misconnection to this earth, you have been like sitting ducks. Many have come. Many helpers have come. Many teachers are here now that have been here in the past, and they have come to help you. So there is both.
Right.
There was some that have just come to take. Do not trust every single ET species that or inform. There are many agendas out there. And that's why you are going to take control of your evolution and what you need to do. You need to do that. You cannot be open to this kind of manipulation, whether it's good or bad.
Right. So I think the first step is recognizing or discerning what is manipulative and what's for humanity is good or for the planetary good. Because we've
If
been
it's not
abused.
good for all, if you develop a system that's not good for all, it's not good. It
Yeah,
has
it's
to be
simple.
good for all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and somehow something as simple as that has been forgotten. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I do believe we are remembering. I do believe we have the spirit and the power to change things and to grow into what we haven't learned yet, to transform this earth, to create a new wave of evolution for not just one planet, but for an entire universe.
I like to show Lisa a point in history a lot. The Middle Ages, the plagues during the Middle Ages, it wiped away a lot of misconceptions, and it started a blossoming of new systems. It was the precursor to the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. So please think of this time as that. It is the precursor for the Enlightenment.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful allegory. Yeah.
It washed away many misconceptions and systems that didn't work. The feudal system was a very dark system that just did not work.
Yeah, some say the darkest night is just before the dawn.
Do you want the dawn? Look for the dawn. The dark night, put behind you and look for the dawn. Face the west because it will come.
Yeah. I recognize how much of it is a matter of perception. The same events can be perceived in very different ways. So, some people might feel despairing and hopeless in the midst of what's going on today. And if you're willing to look more deeply, I think there's pointers to the dawn. It's like, yes, the dawn is coming. We are waking.
Lisa
Consciousness is
has
rising.
trouble. She has trouble looking at the dawn. She has trouble. She looks out her window and says, "Oh boy, look at that now. What's coming now?" And you have to know that something's coming because it's world without end.
Yeah. Well, one of my teachers, Sri Aurobindo, speaks about this as there's a unifying force pressing down into human consciousness today. And, we have divided everything up into duality. There's dark and light, good and bad, and so on. And what he says is that it's not about dark battling the light. It's not forces of evil versus forces of good. It's actually the same unifying force that as it presses down, brings up from deep within the denied consciousness, the subconsciousness of humanity that goes back, eons and cycles of history, and is bringing it up to the surface in order to be seen and then transformed.
Yes.
So it's all, it's all positive from that perspective. It's all beautiful. How could it not be?
Yes. Agreed. Very much agreed about pressing down. Very much agreed. It's a catalyst for change.
Yeah. So again, it's, as if we align our perception with this higher truth, then we create that just simply with our vibrational being that then moves out, ripples out across the collective, into world events, into our political, economic, social fields, and begins to subtly, invisibly at first, transform things.
You exist on higher levels. Parts of you exist in higher levels. You will getting that consciousness back. Like you can fractal your personality and have sub-personalities. It's kind of like that in reverse. You are gaining that back. You're gaining those parts of yourself back that your fall in consciousness was to let go. It's still you. You will still feel you, but you're going to embody more of your soul.
Yeah.
If I may, if I can explain it that way.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how so much so-called dark and light can coexist within one single entity.
I do not see
From
it as dark and light. It is all a part of me. The grays are a part of me. The reptiles are a part of me. The hate's a part of me. The war is a part of me.
mm,
I don't see it. It's a chess game between the two. And I don't wish to say that you brought this on yourselves, but in somehow you did, because it's all what you wish. It's all what you desire. I told your friend David to make a mission statement for humanity. What do you want? I'm here to give it to you. You have to decide what you want, how you want it, where you want it, when you want it.
yeah, that's quite a statement. And for those who are listening to this, if there's clear intention, clear focus on what this mission statement looks like, what we really want, what we're choosing with clear intention, not just what we're resigning to and then um, you know bringing in whatever
Every
comes through.
organism has a mission state. Every organism, I have my mission statement, and it's to evolve you. You decide where you want to go. You will see more options for you, what you want to do, rather than this limited 3D world. And I have to work every day, and I have to make money every day, and I have to provide for children every day. You will see there's so many more options in this next place of where you want to go.
Right. So what would you like to say to collective humanity, perhaps those who are not yet fully aware of who they are, why they're here, what their purpose is, what their mission statement is? Those are
You're
still
gonna
stumbling in the dark.
you're gonna find out really soon. It's
Mm,
gonna hit you really hard. You're gonna find out. You're gonna have to make that choice.
mm.
And
So in other words, they could be physical events.
I don't make the physical events.
Mm,
I don't make hurricanes. I don't make floods. I don't do this. This is an imbalance of your thinking.
There's a
You are
reflection of,
you
yeah.
could make that hurricane into a spring shower if you wanted to. You are incredibly powerful beings. But
Mm,
instead, you repeat it on the news 5,000 times that the hurricane is coming, and you put energy into it. You do that.
wow.
You do that.
And
And
that seems to be the way that
there are other
the
twisted
media
people that,
functions. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. You do that.
Mm. So the media, our news media, focuses on the most dismal, desolate, unfortunate, miserable events to
Yes.
create the news.
You have
Mm,
a mechanism. What you create collectively is reflected to a realm, and then this realm puts it back into your reality.
mm,
You create what you want to see in the world through this realm. This realm was very infected and very sick, and I used Lisa to help me clean it. And it is there, it's waiting for you. But you are so manipulated, you cannot put that wish, that want, that desire into it.
So say
You
more about
must create. Go ahead.
how can we, as humans, participate in the cleaning, as you mentioned, of the collective.
It's cleaned. It's waiting for you. It's part of the ascension process to have this waiting for you. You have to say, I don't want the war. I don't want this. I'm not going to look at this. I don't need this. I don't want this. And Lisa has put some things in there for you. Lisa has got some gifts long ago from other planets. They are the energies of perfect unity, the energy of perfect harmony, and the energy of perfect joy. And it waits for you. It waits for you to wake up and decide, say yes to this and say no to the other. These energies are here on this planet. And there is no reason for you to not take advantage of that. But again, it's your choice.
Beautiful. Yeah, so I can see as people listen to this message, something awakens within them, some awareness of what their purpose is here, choices that are open for us, rather than just, mindless participation in a dead-end scenario. But
Yes. If you
choosing
don't
from
like
our own
that
divine
dead
soul.
end job, you leave that dead end job. If you don't like who you work for because they do awful things, well, it's your responsibility to not work for that person and not get your money from there and not do the thing. This is your responsibility. You can't sit there and say, I can't do this. I can't leave my job. I have family. I have kids. I have this. Yes, you do. And you have a responsibility to those children to make a better world. So are you really going to make bombs all day in the factory? Are you going to engineer weapons of mass destruction? It's your responsibility. This is your world. You create what you want to see in it. You can't let the machine manipulate you. Your children will thank you for leaving that job that does that, or using thousands of pounds of plastic, using thousands of pounds of plastic, not finding that alternative.
Yeah. Many of the indigenous people understood that, they always spoke about how the decisions we make, every decision we make affects 7 generations down the line, 7 generations up the line. So we are all interconnected with each other. Every single thought and movement affects everything. Because we are one. We pretend to be separate, but we are one.
A few more minutes. For Lisa, a few more minutes.
Okay. Okay, so is there any final thoughts or messages that you haven't conveyed yet that you would like to share?
Every one of you is guided every day. You are not alone in your choices. You are presented opportunities to change. You may see them as negative things that happen to you, but it's just a choice for a change. You have guides, you have angels, whatever you want to call them. You get presented opportunities of choice personally every day, every single one of you. Look for that pattern in your life. Look for that choice. It's there for you. You are divinely guided, each one of you. And you are always given a choice every day, in every way. Just make your desire and your path will be cleared for you to create your own desires. But you must first start with the desire to change.
Well, thank you so much. And so much appreciation and gratitude for your being, for, holding all of us in this space of unconditional welcome and love and acceptance. It's a gift.
It
And
was my
it's a
honor
joy.
and pleasure to speak with you, dear Kiara. You have been such a good friend to Lisa, and she appreciates all your attention and every late night email she can send to you. Thank you for having the patience for her as well.
Thank you. Okay, so as Lisa starts to come back, maybe you want to press the end recording button.
Okay. So how was she?
Go
Talked
ahead
a
and
lot.
press that end recording so you don't
Okay.
have to.
Let's see.
I'm not sure if that's
I'm a
doing
little
it.
out of it. Hold on.
Yeah, I know.